The empty cup that will change your life. In a quiet village nestled in a valley, there lived an elderly monk named Kiran. Known for his deep wisdom and calm demeanor, he had earned the respect of both the villagers and his fellow monks. Despite his age, Kiran was humble and approachable, always willing to teach anyone who sought knowledge. Yet in all his years of study and meditation, there was still one thing that troubled him. While Kiran was well versed in the teachings of the Buddha, he noticed that many people who came to him for guidance seemed to expect quick answers to their questions. They were eager to learn, but they often believed that wisdom was something to be gained quickly, something that could be easily obtained from a teacher who had all the answers. One day, a young and ambitious monk named Nero came to the village, seeking to learn from Kiran. Nero was proud of his knowledge and skills, having studied many texts and meditated extensively. He was eager to prove himself and believed that he was ready to understand the deeper truths of life. When Nero arrived at the monastery, he approached Kiran with great enthusiasm. "Master Kiran," Nero began, "I have studied the sutras and practiced diligently for years. I am eager to learn more from you. I believe I am ready to receive the teachings that will take me to the highest levels of wisdom." Kiran smiled gently, his eyes twinkling with kindness. "Ah, Nero," he said, "I am pleased that you seek wisdom, but wisdom is not something you can simply receive by force. It must be cultivated in silence, patience, and humility." Nero, however, was too eager to wait. "Master, I understand, but I am ready for the deeper teachings now. I have learned so much already. I feel that I am only a step away from truly understanding the nature of life." Kiran nodded and invited Nero to sit with him. "Very well, let us have some tea. Perhaps it will help clear your mind." Chapter 1. The Lesson of the Tea. Kiran led Nero to a small room where a pot of steaming tea was waiting on a table. The elderly monk poured tea into Nero's cup, filling it to the brim. As Kiran continued to pour, the tea began to overflow, spilling onto the table. Nero quickly rose and exclaimed, "Master, the cup is full, the tea is spilling." But Kiran didn't stop. He continued to pour the tea, watching it spill over the sides until the entire table was covered in tea. Nero was shocked and confused. "Master, stop! The cup is already full. You cannot pour any more tea into it." Kiran finally stopped, setting the pot down. He looked at Nero and said calmly, "Just as this cup is already full, so is your mind, Nero. You are so eager to learn, but your mind is already full of ideas, beliefs, and judgments. You are not open to receiving anything new because you are filled with your own assumptions. If you wish to learn, you must first empty your cup." Nero stood in silence, stunned by the lesson. His mind had been so focused on what he already knew that he had failed to realize that true wisdom required openness and humility. He had arrived at Kiran's monastery with the expectation of gaining more knowledge, but in doing so, he had closed himself off to the true nature of learning. Kiran continued, "When your mind is full of your own ideas, there is no room for new teachings to enter. You must let go of what you think you know and approach the world with an empty cup, ready to receive and learn." Chapter 2. The Empty Cup. Over the next few days, Nero stayed at the monastery and meditated in silence, contemplating the lesson Kiran had shared with him. He reflected on his own pride and the way he had sought knowledge in the past, not for the sake of wisdom, but to feed his ego. He had thought that by accumulating more knowledge, he would become someone great, someone worthy of respect. But now, Nero understood that wisdom was not about being great. It was about being humble, receptive, and open to the truth in all its forms, without trying to control or manipulate it. Kiran noticed the change in Nero's demeanor. The young monk had begun to sit quietly with the teachings, no longer rushing to gain more knowledge, but instead allowing himself to absorb the simplicity of the present moment. His mind had begun to empty, and in that emptiness, he was slowly learning to see the world more clearly. One day, Kiran invited Nero to accompany him to the riverbank. The sun was setting, casting a golden light on the water as it flowed peacefully along its course. "Look at the river," Kiran said. "It is always flowing, always moving forward, but it never tries to force its way. It simply flows with the path it has been given. The river does not fight against the rocks and the bends. It flows around them, accepting the shape of its journey." Nero watched the river carefully, and for the first time, he saw the deep wisdom in the simplicity of its movement. The river did not struggle, did not resist. It simply accepted what came, and in doing so, it was free. "You see, Nero," Kiran continued, "this is how wisdom works. It flows, it moves, but it never forces itself. When you approach life with humility, when you empty your cup and let go of your preconceived ideas, you will begin to see the world in a new way. Just as the river flows effortlessly, so will wisdom flow through you, naturally and without force." Nero felt a deep sense of peace as he sat beside the river. The lesson had become clear. Wisdom was not something to be obtained through forceful effort or by filling his mind with endless teachings. It was about becoming empty of ego, empty of preconceived notions, and allowing wisdom to flow into him as naturally as the river flows to the sea. Chapter 3. The Humility to Learn. The days passed, and Nero continued his practice of meditation and mindfulness. He approached each moment with a new sense of humility, willing to learn from everything and everyone. Instead of seeking answers, he began to listen to the world, to his fellow monks, and to his own heart. One afternoon, Nero was walking through the village when he came across an elderly woman who was struggling to carry a heavy basket of vegetables. Without hesitation, Nero approached her and offered his assistance. "Please, let me help you," he said, taking the basket from her shoulders. The woman smiled gratefully, and they walked together to her home. As they walked, Nero began to speak with her, asking about her life and her experiences. The woman spoke with deep wisdom, sharing stories of hardship, kindness, and the simple joys of life. Her words, though simple, were filled with a deep understanding of the world. In that moment, Nero realized that wisdom was not confined to the learned scholars or the monks in the monastery. Wisdom could be found in the quiet moments of everyday life, in the actions of a kind stranger, in the teachings of nature, and in the stillness of the heart. As Nero helped the woman with her basket, he saw that there was no difference between the teachings of the Buddha and the lessons found in the simplicity of daily life. Everything was connected. Everything was a part of the same flow of wisdom. Chapter 4. The Empty Cup and the Full Heart. Years passed, and Nero's journey continued. He became known for his deep humility and his ability to listen to the world, to others, and to himself. He had learned that true wisdom did not come from accumulating knowledge, but from emptying his mind of all his assumptions and being open to the present moment. One day, after many years of practice, Nero returned to Kiran's monastery. The elderly monk welcomed him warmly, and they sat together by the fire, just as they had many years before. "Master," Nero said, "I have learned so much from you. You taught me to empty my cup, to approach life with humility, and to listen to the world. I am grateful for your guidance." Kiran smiled and looked into Nero's eyes. "You have done well, my friend. But remember, the empty cup is not just about letting go of knowledge. It is about making space for love, for compassion, for understanding. When your cup is empty, it is not empty of everything. It is empty in order to be filled with the greatest wisdom of all, the wisdom of the heart." Nero nodded, understanding. Wisdom, he now realized, was not about knowing everything. It was about seeing everything with an open heart, free of judgment and full of love. And so, Nero's journey continued, not as a search for knowledge, but as a journey to live with an open heart, ready to receive the world as it was, and to share that love and wisdom with all those he encountered. This story serves as a reminder that wisdom is not something that can be forcefully gained. It is something that must be received with humility, openness, and love. Like an empty cup, we must be willing to let go of our assumptions and preconceived ideas in order to make space for new insights, deeper understanding, and, ultimately, peace. This is Free Your Life Inspiration and Motivation. Subscribe to stay inspired and motivated for life.